All right, guys, welcome back to the Clack Shack. Been doing a little work on the mobile Clack Shack here. I've got everything ordered that I'm going to have to order to complete this. I still got a few things I got to get from the hardware store, some tin and some other things. I've got my little sign that's going to go on the front of the table over there. I've got it burning now. It's got a QR code on it, and the QR code has my logo in the middle of it, and then it's got, you know, the Clack Shack across there. So I'm gonna be putting that on there. I've got me some patio lights coming, and these little boards right here, I'm gonna use these boards to attach the patio lights. Of course, I'm gonna be going up from that and putting my tin roof on. And the tin roof is just gonna kind of go out and just sit there for more or less for shade. So when I'm at these events, I'll have a little bit of shade. I am probably gonna have my little pop-up tent with me and put it behind it just to double down on my shade if I've got room. But I did get around to sanding it and getting all the splinters off of it and putting some stain on there, so making progress. But tonight, I'm gonna be doing a reset. I've got another order of ink bandits that I've got to burn out. And I don't know if y'all recall or not, but right after I got my new Pro, I burned 100 of these ink bandits, and I've been doing a lot of engraving, a lot of stuff with my machine. And I've been blowing it out and doing my routine, you know, just reach in there and clean it type cleaning. But before I start this next batch of ink bandits, I'm gonna be bringing the new Pro out, and I'm gonna be breaking it, you know, out of the machine, bringing it out on the table. I'm gonna set it down and I'm gonna give it a good thorough cleaning and go back and grease everything and make sure it's ready for this long burn that it's fixing to have to do, because I've got 75 of these boxes to do. I can do 3 of these boxes on a 16 by 16, so it's gonna be a lot of work involved. But stick around for just a minute. I'm gonna move over into the shack and get off the porch here and get the machine out, and I'm gonna walk through the steps that I go through to clean mine and how I clean it. Like I said, I've had my D1 for almost a year now with no issues, and I'm trying to keep the Pro to where it's the same way. So stick around for just a minute. All right, guys, the first step of this process, and I've got my new tripod. It's a little taller. I'm hoping that that gives you a little better view, because my other one was shorter than I was. So this one here, it lets up pretty high. So hopefully, that'll help you be able to see a little better. So the first step that we're going to take here is, one, I got to get the machine out. So I'm going to be disconnecting the power as well as the air assist from the machine. And power is pretty easy because it just goes through a little hole right here. But I've got to pull this air assist tube through its little entry point that it's got down here. And then when I'm just going to lift the machine out, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to clean inside the enclosure before I go to cleaning the actual machine itself. So I'm just going to pull this out and set it over here to the side. All right, as you can tell by looking at my honeycomb, it has been well used. I'm going to have to take this guy and blow it out, I know, because I have been cutting a lot of stuff with this new 20. And you can see it's got little pieces of wood all in it. Try to get most of those to fall out on their own, but the rest I will use the air hose to blow those guys out of there. I'm loving this new tripod, man. This thing's a lifesaver. For those of y'all that watched the video, there's my little piece of acrylic that I'm using to keep my honeycomb from sagging. And it's looking a little worn, but it hasn't failed me completely yet, so that's good. We'll put that to the side so it doesn't end up in the shop vac. You can see the dust build up around the holes in my table here. That's where it pulls the air into the bottom of the table. And occasionally, yes, I will have one of these little small pieces of wood get sucked down in there. But with using a shop vac, that's not really a big problem, because it just ends up in the reservoir of the vac. So let me grab my handy big vac from the one I use inside the shop here, and I'm going to get it plugged up. And I'm just going to vacuum out any of those little pieces of debris real quick, and then we're going to clean that metal that's in the bottom to reduce the chance of it catching on fire, because this this little brown, this dust, like it's soot, but there's a little bit of sap and stuff in there too, so I try to clean that out. Okay, well now that we got all the big debris out, the only thing that I really do to the inside is, like I said, I vacuum it to get all the big debris and the little fine particles of dust and stuff out of there. And then once I do that, come back with, this is just regular glass cleaner that I use on my truck. I use it on a lot of stuff. It's just, it's kind of my go-to for cleaning. Let that sit for a second. That stuff is stubborn when you try to get it off of there. We'll be needing this glass cleaner, so I'm gonna leave it laying to the side here. And I'm gonna get an old rag because this is gonna mess this rag here up. And then I'm just gonna wipe all of this, this soot and basically it's like caramelized fumes off of my base. Because I don't know if you've run yours enough to do it or not, but this stuff right here, I mean, it gums it up. We're gonna need some more spray. And I don't like leaving this stuff here because it's almost like a tar, and it just seems like it would be a good accelerant under the right circumstances. So after heavy cutting, I try to come in here and get as much of this stuff off as I can without having to break out a sander or anything. Just keep wetting it. It'll, like I said, it's basically like soot mixed with sap, because I cut all kinds of wood in here, guys. I cut pine, I cut cedar, cypress, oak, black walnut, you name it. So this is kind of just the sap from all of those trees that has been vaporized, and then as it hits this metal and cools back down, it turns into this sludge. I'm gonna need a new rag. So, but you want to get this stuff off of here, in my opinion, because one, it just looks like crap, and secondly, it does seem like it could be something that would be flammable if it got hot enough, or if a fire did break out, it might try to help feed the fire. So I like to get that stuff out of there. And then I'm just, like I said, I'm just wiping the dust off of everything. These are my little honeycomb spacers slash adapters. Mine are screwed to, I drilled holes through the metal into the wood, the wood around the edge here, and connected those so they don't move. So my stuff stays lined up all of the time, and I don't have to worry about, you know, everything getting out of alignment. And I'm going to be putting this back in here. I'm probably going to hit it a lick with the cleaner though, because it looks a little rough too, guys. It's got a little build up on it as well. And you can see how much cutting's taking place in here. That thing's gotten hit a lot. Like I said, I cut 100 boxes out of it, and there's no telling how many jigs and stuff I've done working on my jigs, and then I've done all the Christmas ornaments. I mean, I've done a lot of cutting since the last time I cleaned this thing, so I'm expecting some dirt. Give me just a second. Let me step over and use the air hose to clean this honeycomb out. All right, guys, I'm going to share this part with you for everybody that's trying to figure out how in the world to get all of this black soot and stuff off of this honeycomb. This stuff right here is your friend. Brake parts cleaner. It's used for you guys that do your own mechanic work. You may know, but it's used to clean your brakes when you're putting them back together to make sure there's no oil or residue or anything on them. But let me show you something. Let that sit for just a minute. And like I said, I'm not trying to get this guy to look like it's brand new. I'm wanting to remove the majority of that, of the greasy, grimy stuff off of it. So now I'm gonna take my air hose. And if you look closely, you can see the outline of the ink bandits. There's been so many of them cut that they have left a permanent discolorment on my honeycomb. And this stuff evaporates really fast, so really not a whole lot of cleaning afterwards. All right, guys, I got it back in there. As you can see, it's still gonna have some discoloration to it, but I got all the, well, I won't say all. I got the majority of the sticky, gooey mess off of it, and there is no need for me to clean this thing completely, because as you can see, this is a well-used honeycomb. This ain't a show model. This thing puts in work. So give me just a second and I'm gonna move over to the table and we're gonna start taking some stuff off of this new Pro and seeing how nasty we've got it. All right, guys, now you get to see exactly why I went for the really tall tripod. Now I gotta have a ladder to be able to set this shot up, but hey, I'm trying to get it to where you guys can see a little better. No more complaining about seeing my back or the back of my head. So this machine, like I said, I have been running this thing pretty much continuous since I got it and put it in. And I'd have to check the date on the video to know exactly when that was. But that's my locking panel. I'm gonna go ahead and lay this back in the enclosure because it looks pretty clean. I don't think I need to be touching it. So we're good on that part. The biggest thing that I'm concerned about that I want to check is going to be the status of the air assist. And you know, I've heard all these, you know, horror stories about the XTool air assist, and guys, I mean, I'm just not seeing it. It does not appear that I have any issues with the air assist currently. I don't like that laying on that cable like that. And a trusty block of wood there to lay under it so it's not laying on my laser head. But I want to do this, I want to do the nozzle first and just check it because I have, like I said, I've been running the air assist the whole time, except for, you know, how those moments are when you forget. But for the most part, my air assist stays on continually. I do not take it off. Do not turn it off. Even if I have to deal with a little soot, that's fine, I'll deal with that. I have means to deal with it. Not really sure on this part here, guys, as far as how to get that off. I'm assuming maybe it just twists off. I'm hoping it just twists off anyway, because I just got it to come loose. If it doesn't twist off, that was a very pricey mistake. But I just want to peek in under here and see what's going on. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lens inside there. Okay. So moral of this story is I won't be taking this off anymore, guys. But that lens appears quite clear. I see a few little flakes of something on the other end, but we are not going to take this off and leave it off for any duration, let any dust get in there. So I'm going to say that, okay, there's a there's a set screw here. So this piece comes off. Learning curve, guys. There's a set screw on this guy. See, this thing came assembled, so I didn't have the luxury of assembling it, and so therefore I wasn't quite sure how to disassemble it either. And really not having any luck finding a tool to take this screw out with where I can put this one piece back on before something falls in there. Okay, we're just going to put this back in for now before something does fall in that hole. And then once I get it screwed back into where it was, I will try to find me an Allen wrench, take that cover off, and then we'll look at the outer lens, because that was the, I'm guessing that's the lens that everybody's had that's been cracking. My other machine didn't have that, I don't guess. This one apparently does. So tighten that back down snug. All right, we're going to have to take the module loose from the machine to be able to do this, it appears. So I got to take that shield off. Like I said, trying to learn here, guys. Bear with me. This is the very first time I've ever had this thing apart. And if it weren't for just wanting to make sure it stays clean and healthy, I wouldn't be doing it now. But we'll go ahead and I'm going to lay my screws in the top of this little box over here. Lay that to the side. I'll be cleaning that. All right, that's why I didn't see that screw there. So I'm going to have to figure out what size that little Allen wrench there is. And guys, it's cooled off a little bit here. And it kind of gave me a false sense of security, and I've cut my fans off, but I may be having to cut the big fan back on. So bear with me for just a second. All right, had to make sure my camera was still recording. All right, so hopefully this is the Allen wrench that fits it. It's the last one in my box here. So, and it does. So there you go, guys. If you go to take this part off, do not twist from there, because this whole housing will come off. Oh, just right. I got a little bit of, okay, that's just a little glare on that, so I'm thinking I can clean that. But I do have one of those little lenses in the 20-watt Pro. So if anybody was wondering if they continued with that little lens, yes, they did, and I've got one in here. Not sure I'm happy about that. I've heard horror stories. So I'm going to go ahead and order some lenses for it before it's too late. Let me get something to tighten that back up a little tighter. Don't want to over tighten that, but I don't want it to, well, I didn't over tighten it. Okay, now it's snug enough, it's not going to come off. But yes, there is a lens. If you're curious of whether or not the 20 has that lens in there, there is one. It's got an outer lens, and then of course I saw an inner lens in there earlier. Let me get a light where I can look at that and make sure I don't have a little chip or anything in it already. We'll be trying to order some more of those. It looks clear. I don't see a chip in it or anything, so I think I'm good. It had a little bit of a haze on it, but like I said, guys, I usually run my air assist all of the time, and after seeing that little lens there, I definitely will be. because if you allow, it's kind of like when you paint glass, to etch glass, you paint it so that the laser has something to reflect off of in order to etch the glass. Well, if you allow soot and you allow debris to build up on this little lens right here, then basically you're putting a little micro layer of soot on that lens over and over and over again, and it's going to cause it to fail. So, my opinion. Just my opinion, guys. But I will definitely be running my air assist continually. All right, I'm going to show you here. It's got a little bit of that sappy soot on the outside of it, but on the inside, guys, I mean, it's clean. I am going to wipe it out, wash the end of it off, and clean it really good before I put it back together. And for that, I'm going to be using some rubbing alcohol. And I'm just going to clean the stain off of it. That way, too, I've got a pretty good judge of how nasty it got through running it. So you can see it's not a whole lot, but it's got a little bit of debris on it. This nozzle does seem to perform a little better as far as staying clean, or maybe it's just because I run my air assist, but it seems to stay a little cleaner than the XTool nozzle on my D1 did. I'm trying to get all of this debris off, so being a little overly cleansing. All right, let me hit that with the air hose and blow any debris out of the middle. Sorry about that, guys. That was very loud. So I'm going to slide this guy back on. The way that it was oriented when I took it off was this screw was straight up this way. So I'm going to put that back and try to get it as close to straight up and down as I can. It would be really nice if they put a, if when they built this nozzle, if they would put like a little inset in here and maybe add a pin to the back of this so that when you turned it and got it where it needed to be, that pin would align with the hole. That would be nice, because aligning this is I can see now it's going to be challenging to get this thing right where it needs to be. All right, so next step, I'm going to drop this little Allen wrench intentionally. I'm going to drop it over in the fan there. And the reason I'm doing that is just to hold that fan still so it doesn't turn. And I'm just going to blow a little air through here to blow any kind of debris out. And that is because if you look down in the back of these things, guys, they're kind of built like a computer. You can see all these little lines and these little indentions in this metal. That is intentional, and that is what's called heat sink. And it allows for the heat that this thing to generate to dissipate quicker, because using a heat sink, basically you can like quadruple or triple the surface area of this object, allowing more air to come in contact with the metal and cooling it faster. Little science lesson for you there. Try not to get off in the weeds with my science, but sometimes it just comes out. But that's what that is. If you ever look in there and wonder why they got all those little fins in there, that's not like an air filter. It's not supposed to catch dirt. It's made to help everything cool faster, stay cooler. But by design, it will catch little pieces of trash. If you have cats, like I do, it will catch cat hair occasionally. So you're going to want to make sure when you clean your machine, make sure you clean that out really good. One reason you don't want it stopping up those the heat sink, and second reason, you don't want anything to obstruct that fan and stop that fan from turning. So get the shield nice and clean. Going to be going back on with it. Let me check my camera, because we know this thing's got this 20-minute timeout feature, guys. All right, started the timer over. I'm going to buy me a camera, guys. All right, so the next step, we're going to put this little shield back on. And it sits in there like that. And then you got the 2 screws, which I laid on my lid over here. And you're going to want to pull this cover out until you get the holes lined up with the top there. And yes, my cover is slightly shorter than what they come. Me and it had a little bit of a disagreement, and so it got shortened ever so slightly. I took probably a little under 1/4 of an inch off of it. So basically my air assist nozzle sticks down barely below the shield now. So I can go as low as I need to go without worrying about that shield catching on a drop from a cut or anything. So that's just what I did, guys. I'm not suggesting it. I'm just telling you that's what I did. If you notice that mine looks shorter. But I haven't had to hit any material since then. So that's good. So guys, I don't know that you'll be able to use it with the cover secured completely, but there is a little tiny hole in the back of this shield that is just big enough to fit your Allen wrench through. That's convenient. It makes it a little better. I still think a good little pin set up on that. Let me get a worthy screwdriver. I still think a little pin on that part wouldn't be a bad idea, so that you didn't have to worry about twisting it or aligning it. But at least there is a method. All right. So now that I've got that back on there, I think I'll wait until, let me make sure I got my cable oriented to where it doesn't twist. Air assist back connected. Plug still looks good. All right, guys. While I've got everything out here and got me a block of wood, I'm gonna go ahead and clean the underside so that you can see that there's rails under the bottom as well as on the top. Now, with wiping these rails, I strongly recommend spray your cleaner on the rag, not on the machine, and then clean them. But if you start spraying cleaner in here, one thing is you could potentially dry the belt out with the cleaners, and secondly, there's a lot of little electronics in here that, unless you're using a electronic safe cleaner, it's probably not a good idea to spray it down in. So I'm just cleaning all of the rails. I'm doing the underside first just because I don't want to clean the other side and then flip it over. But, I mean, you can do either side first. And so far, the rails are fairly clean. New enclosure. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got some gunk off of it, but since I started running a full enclosure, the dust situation's gotten a lot better. Plus, I got my new dust filtration system over there. I like to think that thing's helping. It definitely isn't hurting. All right, so while I'm under here, let me go ahead and put some of this on here. And all this is, guys, is the lubricant that come with the machine, but it's like a real thin grease type material. Almost looks like a white lithium based lubricant. All right, so I'm gonna flip her over to the other side. Try not to let the gantry go to falling everywhere when you're doing this. If your belt's properly tensioned, it shouldn't move a lot, but it will slam if you get it at the right angle. All right. So now I'm just going to wipe down these rails on the top. This machine, to have been run as much as I have and not thoroughly cleaned it, it's actually held up pretty well. Now I do reach in there with a rag from time to time and wipe it down and hit it with an air hose. But as far as scrubbing it or anything, I haven't messed with this one since I put it together. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps that up. Wipe my little shield off a little bit here. It doesn't look too dirty, but normally that thing collects dirt pretty good. All right, going back in the enclosure now. All right, guys, going back into the enclosure with her, and then I'm gonna fire it up, do a test cut or two just to make sure I didn't mess anything up. And we will be ready to make some ink bandits tomorrow afternoon. I'm not gonna fool with it today. I may go ahead and run one set just to make sure I didn't mess anything up, but I'm gonna go ahead and start those tomorrow. And then once I get it in here, I just gotta make sure that everything sits down into my holders. Oh, wait a minute. Air assist wasn't on. See guys, that's what I'm talking about. I started wondering why I had a little scorching going on there. All right. I guess I turned it right back off when I tested it to make sure it was working. Let me look at it this time. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, guys. I really wish that, and if I could put like a red flashing light on my air assist so I would know when it was on and when it wasn't. The fan outside is kind of messing with my table, but the table's still catching most of the smoke, so that is good. That's why I had trouble on those first two. No air assist. So just goes to show you guys, make sure you turn your air assist on. That one should drop, yeah. But the air assist wasn't on. You can see the yellowing, and I had a little bit of snags right there. Get a lot better cut and no snags, and it drops. And you can see here where I remembered the air assist wasn't on and turned it on. That cut's got yellow in here and none over there. So if you don't have an air assist, guys, you're going to be doing a lot of cutting. Like I said, I strongly recommend the air assist for cutting. I use it all the time, typically when I don't forget, but definitely for cutting. All right, guys, my other mother burn is finished, so I can turn this air assist off because I did remember this one, and go ahead and power the machine down. We're going to test this and see if it works. there's my QR code. Let me prop that guy up if I can without it falling over. And this is going to go on the new clack shack, the portable clack shack. So let's see if it works. I don't know if you can see my phone or not. Let me try to get over here where you can see over my shoulder there. Okay, you can't get too close with it, guys, but there's the QR code. And if you click it, it takes you to the clack shack. So that was my problem. I was getting too close. Yep, there it goes again. All right, back up just a fuzz here and see if it still works. Yep, still works. So that's going to be attached to the front of the portable clack shack there, and that is a customized QR code with my logo in the middle of it. So I'm going to take this guy, and hopefully staining it or sealing it is not going to mess up my QR code, because I really want this thing to work. But anyway, lay that back down here for a minute because I'm not going to be fooling with it tonight. Go ahead and close this guy up. All right, guys, I hope the video was helpful. Like I said, sometimes I feel a little foolish taking you along for such as this, but I do get a lot of questions about how do you clean your machine and this, that, and the other. And that's the first time I've stripped this guy down and went into it, as you could tell by me partially disassembling my laser module. But I hope that helps. And for those of you that maybe missed it or whatever, the 20-watt Pro that I have does have that little lens in the end of it. Now, my lens looked like it was doing well. Didn't have a whole lot of film on it. It had a little bit of like build up around the edges that looked like maybe some of the gases and the sap and stuff from the wood. Probably from just like you saw a few minutes ago, to where I forgot to turn the air assist on a couple of times. But I run my air assist continually, and that's the reason, is to try to keep any of those gases and stuff that's coming up off of that, the wood, the sap, vaporized water or whatever may be in the wood. As that stuff, basically gets vaporized, if there's no positive pressure coming through there, then it can drift up and then get up against that laser head and kind of sit there and coat it, similar to what happens to the bed of the machine when you're cutting. Of course, that's a lot more extreme, but it's the same basic principle. It's that vaporized wood and vaporized sap and glue from plywood and all that stuff. So that's the reason that I run my air assist. It's personal preference. If you don't want to, don't. That's what I do, and that is my justification for doing so. And it's not exactly scientific, but like I said, I've had my 10-watt for almost a year now and haven't had any problems. And that's what I do. Now, I did not have an air assist the first probably close to 6 months. But I did use the vacuum table, and that vacuum table kind of sucks the gases underneath the table instead of pulling it across the laser or letting it drift up. So I think that contributes as well. But anyway, that's what I've been up to tonight, guys, getting ready to turn out those ink bandits. And for those of you that are asking about the ink bandits, because I know everybody's gonna be like, what are ink bandits? What are ink bandits? Some of you know, and some of you don't. My friend May May, she's a YouTuber. She has a channel, May May Made It Crafts, and she does all kinds of craft stuff with paper, stamps, and all that kind of thing. Well, she had a little device that she had kind of engineered using some parts and materials that she had laying around, and she asked me one day to help replicate it. And what it is, it's a little box. She was using like a tub of some type, and she put rubber bands around it to hold a stamp so she could lay it down without it sitting on the counter and getting ink everywhere. And so she used rubber bands to make it. So she coined the phrase ink bandit, because it's made for ink and it's got rubber bands on it. Pretty cool name. But I was at her store one day. She has a store here near me, and I was at her storefront one day, and she asked me to look at it and see if I could design something that I could cut with a laser that would serve that purpose, but maybe was a little more crafty and a little less kind of throw together. And so that's when I designed the ink bandit. And basically it's a box with some teeth across the top that you can put rubber bands across, and it holds the ink pad. and I make those for her, and then she sells them to the people on her channel. And I think they've got some Cricut files, and they've got some other files and stuff that they use to make decorations and just fully customize them. So that's what a Ink Bandit is. If you want to know more, go to May Made It and just search her videos for Ink Bandit, and she's got a video that demonstrates the thing for you and everything. But that's it for today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and shut down for tonight. My machine is ready to go. Tomorrow night when I get home, I can come in and start cranking those things out, and hopefully I can get at least a lot of them done. Compared to the 10 watt, it took me an hour to do 3 of them, right at it. Now it's only like 11 to 15 minutes to do 3 of them in the 20 watt. And that, guys, is why I prefer the 20 watt. I do a lot of cutting, so I need a machine for cutting. Now you saw I did my engrave on my board. I do it in the 10 watt. 10 watt's great for that, especially if I'm not in a hurry. If I'm doing something like cleaning this machine or building something else, I'm not in a hurry. But when I'm doing cutouts, time is money. The more time it takes me, the more money it costs me. And so I needed something a little faster. And also, I found out this morning I'm going to have a few more toys coming to play with. One of them is a machine that I had been thinking about getting. I had been looking at, and I just couldn't quite get myself to pull the trigger on it. And I got an email this morning, and apparently I'm going to be getting one to play with. And we're gonna play with it, figure it out, see what it's good at, see what it's not good at, and do the pros and the cons of it. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. I just got to get caught up on some other stuff to where I'll have time to do it. So, but anyway, thanks for stopping by, guys, and I hope this was helpful. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, comment, do whatever you can to kind of promote a little activity on the channel here. I'm trying to grow it and get a little bit bigger, a little better content. I got a taller tripod to try to get a better angle on the table. So y'all let me know what you thought about that too, because I'm trying to take some of the criticisms that I get and make a little bit better quality video. Now, I'm not one of these overly animated guys that are on YouTube. That's not me. You get me. All right, guys, you're not getting an act. Anybody that knows me knows that this is the way I am. So if you like the angle a little better, or if you think the other way, the old way was best, then drop me a comment and let me know. But this new tripod so far is much better than the old one that I had. So thanks for stopping by, guys. And as always, have a good day.